we'll go ahead and get started. Good morning, everybody. My name is Mike Masterson. I'm one of the automation specialists with the Reynolds Company in Houston. Today's Tech Talk topic is Introduction to ControlFLASH Plus. This is probably a tool some of you are currently using, but there's probably a good chunk of you that haven't updated your software lately and don't know the beautiful benefits of ControlFLASH Plus. So we're going to discuss that today. I want to take a quick look at some upcoming events we have. If you look at our Tech Talk schedule for October, we're going to have Factory Talk Links Gateway, E300 electronic overloads, and a preview to Automation Fair in early November. Then I'm really excited about our users group for October, where we're going to take a look at a new product for Rockwell, which is the Factory Talk Logix Echo emulator for the new controllers. So we will be taking a look at that, and hopefully we get a lot of attendance for it. And I want to make everyone aware of Rockwell Automation Fair will be held here in Houston, November 10th and 11th, and we want to get as many people registered for it as possible. There will be a virtual part of it also if you can't attend in person. Easy way, there is a link to where you can register down below, but if you go to the Reynolds online website, we will have a link there, and also you can just go to your general Rockwell Automation website and find links to where you can register for it also. And last but not least, let me introduce the person who's leading the charge this morning. That's my counterpart, David Newt, an automation specialist with the Reynolds Company out of Houston also. He'll be leading us, and with that, I will hand off to him.
All right, thanks a lot, Mike. So, ControlFLASH Plus. Let's talk about ControlFLASH Plus this morning. And version 4 is the latest version. But first of all, let's introduce the product a little bit for those of you that haven't used it. So what is it? Well, ControlFLASH Plus is the replacement for ControlFLASH that we all know and love. And so you may ask, well, why did Rockwell make a replacement? Well, for a few reasons. Primarily as to enhance productivity. So those of you that have used ControlFLASH in the past, you know you update one device at a time, and it can be cumbersome if you have a lot of devices to update. ControlFLASH Plus allows you to update multiple devices in one session, thereby increasing productivity a significant amount. Another benefit is better lifecycle management. For example, ControlFLASH Plus now connects to Rockwell's product compatibility and download center, making lifecycle management a lot more graphical and easier to manage and to visualize. And as technology has enhanced, the usability has increased on ControlFLASH Plus. So let's dig into it a little bit. So here's a few screenshots and some of the rules. So if you like uploading one firmware at a time, you can still do that with ControlFLASH Plus. But what we're here to talk about today is some of the new features that you didn't have before. So here's a screenshot of you updating and browsing for multiple devices at the same time. So typically you can look at backplanes, networks, or drivers and browse for all the different devices at once, and then start updating firmware. So you may be asking, well, if I can update multiple devices, how many devices can I update at once? So the tool today supports up to 20 devices concurrently, with a few exceptions. Number one, on a DLR, on a device level ring, or on a linear network, certain devices that require multiple resets, like E300s, have to be flashed sequentially, meaning one at a time, although you can schedule that. Also, some PowerFlex drives need to be flashed sequentially. And then some of the network interfaces, like device nets, control net and Ethernet interfaces, like you see here, the 1715s and the 1756s. Those modules need to be updated first before all the children or before all the subsequent IO modules are updated. So they update independently. But as you can see, this tool is extremely useful. And so you might also be thinking, well, how can I measure some of that usefulness? So for your benefit, Rockwell, I guess, asked an intern to actually count the number of clicks it would take to update a series of modules via ControlFLASH versus ControlFLASH Plus, and this is the result. So as you can see, for an example for a list of 7 devices on a backplane, it took 77 mouse clicks and 26 minutes to update these devices with ControlFLASH. Using ControlFLASH Plus, updating the same firmware took 10 clicks and 8 minutes and 39 seconds. So that saved you 18 minutes. That's enough time to listen to one of the Reynolds Company's podcasts. So a big time saver. Another benefit of ControlFLASH Plus is reports. So if you're in an organization that requires documentation every time you update a firmware, ControlFLASH Plus creates a report automatically every time a firmware is updated. So you have that report built in every time you do a firmware update. And here's just a list of comparisons between ControlFLASH and ControlFLASH Plus. So we'll talk about these just for a quick minute. And so some of the benefits that you get that you didn't have before. Controller mode pre-checking. What that means is ControlFLASH Plus connects to the controller and can tell you if that controller is in run mode or remote mode or program mode. And as you know, controllers need to be out of run mode in order to do firmware updates. So that's a nice report. There's a support for favorites. If you have to update firmware on the similar devices, but multiple times, and you want to create a favorites list, you can do that with ControlFLASH Plus. Reports we mentioned, multi-device updates we mentioned, and connecting to the product compatibility and download center is also another big feature. So we are on version 4.0 of ControlFLASH Plus. So let's talk about what's new with 4.0. So the first feature that's probably the most important is with the new version is the cross-compatibility checking. And so what does that mean? Well, that means when you're browsing multiple devices, for example, a backplane, and you've got multiple modules, ControlFLASH Plus is smart enough to take a look at that as a system and could warn you if you selected any firmware on one device that's not compatible with the other. And it will create suggestions for compatible firmware that would be a better selection. The other feature is the increase in visualizing the lifecycle states of all the devices you're looking to update, and that happens via the connection to the product compatibility and download center. There's also some usability improvements and some performance improvements as well that we'll demonstrate. So let's talk about the compatibility checking a little bit. So here's a few screenshots that show you visually if you had an issue with compatibility. So you've got some graphical red X's that will show up if you have an issue, and then you can dive a little deeper and notice that the revisions that are not compatible are locked out, meaning you can't download those revisions and put yourself in a difficult situation with firmware. So that's a big improvement with the new version 4.0. Also, the lifecycle status. So this is visually, again, will demonstrate whether your devices where they sit in the life cycle status. So if you have active or end of life or discontinued devices, you'll be able to see that easily on the life cycle status column in the Flash Devices tab, as you can see here. And then automatic controller mode detection. So as we said before, if your controller is in run mode, ControlFLASH Plus has the ability to detect that and warn you before you attempt to make a firmware download. So that can help give you a visualization key to make sure, well, maybe we're not ready to download this firmware yet, and then you can go back and double check to understand why that controller is not ready to be downloaded or why it's still in run mode. So that's a big plus. And then we've added some security permissions. So some of this functionality can be enabled or disabled based on your security level. So if you want to add visualization to your lifecycle status, you have to permit the PC-DC to allow connectivity from the PC-DC to ControlFLASH Plus, and you can do that in the security tab. And also, you can either allow or disallow the user to delete firmware from ControlFLASH Plus as well, if that's what you're looking to do. So another performance slide here, and this is just an increase in performance from version 3 to version 4 of ControlFLASH Plus. As you can see, when you first start up the program, we've increased the performance about 3 times. So version 4 starts up about 3 times faster than version 3 did. So we're pretty proud of those performance improvements. So what we're going to do next is we're going to show a video of ControlFLASH Plus in use. So I'm going to go ahead and start the video. And as you can see, we're about to open up ControlFLASH Plus and take a look. So first of all, as you can see, there's 3 tabs. We've got Flash Devices, Manage Firmware, and Manage Favorites. Now, and then on the bottom left, you want to make sure if you want to manage your firmware, you're connected to the download center. That's where you're going to get all your firmware updates. And so you can select the Manage Firmware tab to visually look and see which firmwares you have in the lifecycle status. And if you have devices that you update continuously, you can add those to your favorites to make your use of ControlFLASH Plus even more efficient. So we're going to look at what it takes to update multiple devices at a time. So we went to the Flash Devices tab, and now we're browsing for our whole backplane. And you can also browse networks and full drivers as well.
David,
So,
we have a question I wanted to just jump in here from one of our participants. Do you need to have a support agreement to download the firmware?
no, you don't. Firmware does not require a support agreement. It does require a Rockwell login to access the download center, but it does not require a support agreement.
Thank you.
And so also you can see if you had a network with a lot of devices, you can filter on device there. We just demonstrated. So now we're selecting multiple devices. So we've selected the IF8 and then the OF8. And we're going to hit the next button and then flash. And now we're going to watch these 2 devices becoming flashed simultaneously. And you get an immediate window of the flash results. You click OK. And then if you like, then you can look at reports. And then there's your browse. There's your browsing to see all the firmware that's been updated. So So that was a quick demonstration of ControlFLASH Plus in use. So to summarize, ControlFLASH Plus is a time saver. It's a productivity enhancer. You can update multiple devices simultaneously. Its connectivity to the product compatibility and download center allows quite a bit of productivity and usability gains. You can now we support our cross compatibility of firmware revisions to eliminate errors down the road. Favorites lists, other things, lots of different enhancements. So we really encourage all of our customers and all of our users to use ControlFLASH Plus as soon as you need to download your next firmware device. And if you're wondering, ControlFLASH Plus can be found on the download center as well, on Rockwell's download center. And because it's such a no-brainer to use ControlFLASH Plus, ControlFLASH application is still available, but it's in maintenance mode, which means we're really not adding anything to it going forward. So that was really all the presentation. Mike, I don't know if there's any more questions. If not, I appreciate everyone's time and look to see you all in about 8 weeks at the Automation Fair.
Thanks a lot, David.
Thanks.